I'd like to welcome everyone out to a series of webinars. The first being, if diets work, why are there so many of them? And that's the question I would like to pose everyone. I don't know about you, but when's the last time anyone has ever Googled diets? You're probably going to get around 9 million or so hits. Um, so diets are something that are very, very prevalent. Yet at the same time, people are getting more and more obese, more and more overweight. So that, leads to a few questions that we want to address. What about diets? Do they work? Why are there so many of them? Does everyone have a diet that works for them? Or do diets not work at all? Well, currently, the Federal Trade Commission did a study, and they found that about 95% of people that go on diets that actually lose weight gain that weight back and then some within the course of a year. So right now, if you're trying to get in shape, the odds are, and you're doing this on your own or trying to figure something out, that you have a 95% failure rate, which is horrible. Those are horrible odds. And yet, there's millions upon millions of diets out there taking advantage of the fact that most likely people are going to fail. So what we want to do is we want to kind of go right to the core and take a look at why diets fail in general. So the goal of this quick little presentation is to cover that. What I want to talk about first is, what really is the true goal of dieting? How do people find out, or how do they have feedback of whether or not their diet's working? What is it that people are hopping on first thing in the morning, every day, and they're doing it first thing in the morning because they're going to weigh less, but you're right, it's the scale. So, when it comes to dieting, is there a difference between weight loss and fat loss? And if there is a difference, what is it? I could say, hey, I know the secret to weight loss, and I could have you go hop up on the scale, but then I could have you take your shoes off and hop back up on the scale, and you've lost 2 pounds. But what did you lose 2 pounds of? Your shoes. Yet millions of supplements out there say, hey, lose 10 pounds in 24 hours. I mean, really, what are you losing 10 pounds of in 24 hours? It's water, right? And how long are you going to be able to be dehydrated? You're going to gain that weight back. What we want to do is we want to focus on fat loss. There is a difference. And what we're going to talk about is the typical dieter and fat loss versus weight loss. And what I want to do is I want to go through a typical program that people are following on their own in the diet industry. We're going to do a quick 8-week slim down. We're going to take a guy and pick on a guy. We're going to call this guy Mr. Jones number 1. And we'll say that Mr. Jones weighs 200 pounds and he is 30% body fat. And if you know somebody's body fat percentage, then you know how many pounds of fat they have, which in this case is 60 pounds for Mr. Jones. And everything that's left over is going to be classified as lean body mass. That's muscle, it's water, that's clothes, it's food you just ate. Everything that's not fat is going to be classified as lean body mass, but we do have muscle in there. And Mr. Jones at 230% fat is 140 pounds of lean. Well, let's say Mr. Jones has a class reunion coming up and he wants to get back to his high school weight. And that was 170 pounds. So he goes on an 8-week crash diet, cutting carbs, cutting calories, basically starving himself. And sure enough, in 8 weeks, he loses 30 pounds on the scale. Now, what they were finding is that when people go on diets and lose weight, oftentimes their body fat percentage doesn't change a lot. They're successful at losing on the scale, but body fat percentage doesn't change. So Mr. Jones staying 30% fat. Now, if we work the numbers, he's now 51 pounds of fat. So he did lose 9 pounds of fat on his diet, and then he lost he ended up being 119 pounds of lean. So he loses 21 pounds of lean. Now, let me ask you a question. Does fat burn fat, or does muscle burn fat? You're right, it's muscle. Muscle is what we like to call your fat-burning machinery. Now, Mr. Jones used to have 140 pounds of fat-burning machinery. Now he only has 119 pounds. So his metabolism, he used to could support roughly 3,000 calories a day. But now, because he lost 21 pounds of lean body mass, he can only support roughly 2,000 calories a day. So if an individual is used to eating 3 and now they can only eat 2,000 calories a day, do you think they're getting hungry? Yeah, probably. And it may not happen overnight, but gradually he's going to go back to what was comfortable, and that was eating the 3,000 calories a day. But now he's doing it with 21 pounds less of his fat burning machinery. He's doing it with 21 pounds less of muscle. So what happens is his body can no longer support 3,000 calories. So what happens to his weight is he goes back. But not only does he go back, he actually goes higher than before because he lost all his muscle. His body can't support even 3,000 calories anymore. So he goes up to 210 pounds and 35% fat. But here's the deal. Mr. Jones lost 30 pounds in 2 months. Very successful on the scale. And let's say he hasn't, his friends haven't seen him for 2 months. They're used to looking at him at 200 pounds, but now they see him at 170. What do you think his friends are telling him? Wow, you look great. You losing weight? So when Mr. Jones gains the weight back, he doesn't see a problem with the way that he lost it. In fact, it worked really well while he was on it. He just needs to get back on it. So what does he do? He goes back on the diet every time, slowing his metabolism down more and more and more, and setting himself up for more failures and making it more difficult for him to lose weight. Now, what we want to look at, and this is any program that anybody does, let's say that Mr. Jones goes to Diet Center X and they say, you know what, you weigh this much, you know what, you should eat this many calories. So we're going to put you on a 2,000 calorie diet, calorie restricted, you're going to lose weight. So he's eating 2,000 calories and all of a sudden he plateaus. So what do they do to his food intake and calories to break that plateau? They drop it. Okay, Mr. Jones started losing again. And then all of a sudden he plateaus, so they drop his calories again. And anyway, he stops losing, so they drop his calories again. The point is think about it this way. Any program that you do, if your food intake is getting less and less and less, doesn't it make sense to say that your metabolism is getting slower and slower? And if your metabolism is getting slower, then you're more likely to gain the weight back. And that's what we don't want to see happening, yet that's happening 95% of the time. And people just go through this vicious yo-yo over and over and over again. But we don't have to do this. We can actually do it the right way. And let's take the same example. Let's take Mr. Jones, but call him Mr. Jones too. And let's, say he's the same weight, 200 pounds, 30% fat, 60 pounds of him is fat, everything that's left over is lean. He could eat 3,000 calories a day. But let's do this. Let's focus on body fat percentage. Let's not even worry about the weight right now. Now, 10% is very lean for a guy. He's going to look awesome. It's going to take a little bit longer. He might, take him 24 weeks versus 8 weeks. But you know what? Maybe we can even get him to his goal weight of 170. That's not as big a deal as the body fat percentage. But look at what happens to the numbers. Now, remember the first Mr. Jones, he was 172, but he was 30% fat because he was starving and dieting. Mr. Jones 2, at 170, 10%, now has 17 pounds of fat, 153 pounds of lean. So he lost 43 pounds of fat, and he increased his lean mass, his lean muscle, by 13 pounds. Now remember, that is what we call our fat-burning machinery. That is what determines our metabolism. So now his metabolism can support roughly 4,000 calories a day. Now how likely is it that this guy's going to gain the weight back? Not as likely if he stops eating. But the first Mr. Jones example, they're always dieting for something. They're dieting for a cruise or, they're dieting for a special event, and then they eat like crazy and gain a few pounds back, and they, kind of slip off the bandwagon, the weight just piles on. This example of Mr. Jones number 2, because he has a higher metabolism, he can eat healthy, 80% of the time and eat junk for 20% of the time and maintain his results. And that's the key point. Anytime anybody diets, you want to make sure that you're increasing your metabolism, not slowing it down. Now, the kind of results that I can get you are very typical to this individual right here. And this is a little progression picture. And basically what we're looking at is increasing his metabolism. If you look at this individual, he's eating a lot more food in this last picture than he was in the beginning picture. And it's just now that his body can handle in the right forms and in the right amounts. But here's the deal. There are more things to changing your body composition than just nutrition. There's actually 5 components, with nutrition being one of them. I will be posting here shortly those other components, and we will talk about them and how you can see great results and be part of that 5% of people that are very successful and are seeing the kind of results that everyone should be seeing, but not because they don't have the right education. So email me, mike.butler@thfonline.com, if you want to schedule a free personal consultation and watch these videos that I'll posting, and you'll be able to understand a lot more about what we're trying to accomplish in this industry and get people fit, healthy, and happy. And thank you very much. And again, don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions, if you'd like a free personal consultation. Thank you.